In 2010, a couple Harvard graduates published a paper titled "A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind." The paper went over an experiment where over 2,000 people were sent a set of questions at random times in the day through an app called trackyourhappiness.org. The subjects were assigned to answer a happiness question, how are you feeling right now, answered on a scale from very bad to very good, an activity question, what are you doing right now, with a list of different common everyday activities, and a mind-wandering question, are you thinking about something other than what you're currently doing, with 4 options, yes, something pleasant, yes, something neutral, yes, something unpleasant, and no. The goal of the experiment was to find out how mind wandering had an effect on an individual's happiness, in contrast to how the activity that they were doing did. And what they found was that mind wandering occurred very frequently in all subjects, regardless of what they were doing. Mind wandering occurred in 46.9% of the samples, and it happened at least 30% of the time. Now, the fact that people mind wander isn't a very surprising fact. We've all been through a boring class or had to perform tedious work. And in those times, it seems that mind wandering is like a go-to instinct to distract ourselves from the mundane and drift off into the infinite worlds of our subconscious. But what was surprising about the study was that the activities that people were doing had only a small effect on whether or not their minds wandered, and had almost no impact on how pleasant the topics that they thought about were. Meaning that if you were working out in the gym, you were no more likely to think about something pleasant or unpleasant than someone working at a job they hate, for instance. Not that the pleasantness of your thoughts made a big difference, because the study found that in general, people were less happy when they were mind wandering as opposed to just focusing on their current activity, regardless of what they thought about. People weren't any happier when they were thinking about pleasant topics than when they were focused on their current activity, and were actually considerably unhappier when thinking about neutral or unpleasant topics and performing that same activity. And this applied to even the most unpleasant activities. Here's Matt Killingsworth, one of the authors of this paper, talking about this.
As it turns out, people are less happy when they're mind wandering, no matter what they're doing. For example, people don't really like commuting to work very much. It's one of their least enjoyable activities, and yet they are substantially happier when they're focused only on their commute than when their mind is going off to something else. As it turns out, there is a strong relationship between mind wandering now and being unhappy a short time later, consistent with the idea that mind wandering is causing people to be unhappy.
Now you, like I, might be surprised to hear that. A lot of the times it seems that mind wandering can actually help us get through boring activities. Daydreaming in class can often feel much more enjoyable than staying present and taking notes. But that doesn't necessarily seem true. The fact is that most of the time we don't control what we think about. And sure, sometimes we think about pleasant things, we think about good memories or something that we're excited about in the future. And then other times we're thinking about things in the past that we regret or things that we're anxious about in the future. I think a big reason why pleasant thoughts don't necessarily make you more happy is because while you're thinking them, you aren't experiencing the thing that you think is going to make you happy. You're just stuck at work or school thinking about how you would rather be doing something more enjoyable. And when you think like that, of course it makes the activity that you're currently doing seem way less enjoyable. So what does this mean? You are just about always better off focusing on the activity that you're currently doing than letting your mind wander off and drift into space. And you may be thinking, what if people who are unhappy are just more likely to mind wander? Nope. Although negative moods are known to cause mind wandering, this study suggests that mind wandering is generally the cause and not the consequence of unhappiness. In many cases, subjects that answered yes to a mind wandering question were predictably more likely to rank lower on happiness than those who answered no. So it seems that the part of our sapient brain that sets us apart from all other animals, the part of us that is responsible for a large majority of some of the greatest inventions and art, is exactly what is also responsible for a lot of our unhappiness. Maybe that's why today people are richer and healthier than we ever have been, and yet it seems that we aren't any happier. Now, I'm not telling you to completely stop mind wandering or else you're going to be unhappy. Not that you have the ability to completely stop mind wandering, but by being aware of how you think can negatively affect you, you can start to notice when you get lost in a thought that is taking you away from the present, and over time you can learn to quiet that voice inside your head. And how do you do this? You probably already know the answer. It's mindfulness. Chances are you've probably heard the phrase live in the present many times throughout your life. It is a concept that has been talked about for thousands of years. Ancient books and philosophers have preached this idea over and over again. Hollywood has used it with spiritual characters, and yet chances are you still spend a large portion of your life lost in thoughts. You might even be doing it right now, so snap out of it. Today, mindfulness has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Some of the biggest corporations in the world have noticed the impact that practicing mindfulness can have on its employees. For instance, Google has had a Search Inside Yourself course for its employees since 2007, and for good reason. Taking a few minutes every day to sit still, close your eyes, and just be present has proven to be an incredibly significant way to improve a person's happiness and overall productivity. The French philosopher Blaise Pascal said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." And since the start of the Track Your Happiness study in 2010, thousands and thousands of more subjects have only further proven this idea. So the next time you're doing the dishes or you're stuck in class and you find yourself lost in thought, use it as an opportunity to try to become a more mindful person. And who knows, over time you may find that it has a really profound impact on your life. Thanks for watching this video. I'm Alex. This is Think Rich, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.